Alright, so today we're going to be taking a look at Project Honolulu again. This time there's recently been a 1711 release of Project Honolulu, so we're going to take a look at this most recent technical preview. And just out of curiosity, I kind of want to check it out and see, can you actually install this on a 1709 release of Windows Server? So 1709 is the most recent semi-annual channel release of Windows Server, and this particular release does not have a GUI of any kind. You actually can't install the GUI role since this particular version is geared toward particular roles and function, and it's not the mainstream release that does have capability for the full fat GUI client and everything there. So let's jump right into it and take a look. So I've already copied over the Project Honolulu technical preview 1711 MSI files. So it's about 35 megabytes or so file. So it's not that big. And this is a clean, fresh install Windows Server 1709 with no additional roles or anything installed. So let's check it out and see. We'll see what happens. So we got the prompt here. I'll go ahead and accept the license agreement. Hit next. So here is asking me a few things. Do I want to allow Project Honolulu to modify this machine's trusted host settings? I'm going to go ahead and leave that checked. I guess I could check that, but since I technically don't have a desktop, so this really won't do anything. But I'll go ahead and check it for kicks and giggles. And here, up here at the top, you have some other information. Supported operating system. Technical preview can be used to manage Windows Server that are version 2012 and newer. To install the gateway as a server, 2012 R2 or newer is required. Installing on client requires Windows 10. So there's nothing that's, at least in that part of it, there's no restrictions on installing on a core system. Or specifically the 1709 that doesn't have that. So Windows Server 2016 is supported. And this is technically a Windows Server 2016 just without the GUI, and just kind of the most recent version of that. So I'll go ahead and say next here. So right here is asking me for what port do I want the server to listen on. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and leave it at 443. And this server does have an SSL certificate, but I didn't prep it to see. I don't know what the thumbprint is, and can't think of how to get to it right offhand. So for the purpose of this, I'll just go ahead and let it do a self-sign for now, and then I'll probably come back at a later date and kind of show you how to get the thumbprint on server core. So I'll go ahead and say install. And guess it's doing its things like it's going, no errors. Appears to be working. Just thinking about it. So we're about 3.5 minutes or so in. This install is normally pretty quick. So it still doesn't appear to be making any progress. So I wonder if it maybe is silently failing, or is it just taking longer than expected? Oh, no, what? Oh, there we go. Okay. You have to be a little bit more patient. Alright, so according to the wizard, it appeared to have installed successfully. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to jump back over to my desktop and see, can I connect to the server. So here I am on back on my desktop, and I've already typed in the address to the server, so I'm just going to connect by port 443. And as you see here, we're getting an error saying this site is not secure. I'm using Microsoft Edge browser, and the reason why we're getting that is that, if you recall, the checkbox is where we were asked the questions about certificates. I chose the option for Project Honolulu to generate a self-signed certificate. And one of the consequences of that is that my workstation has no way to verify or trust that certificate, since um, it's not generated from a CA that my desktop trusts or know how to verify. So we're getting this error message. So in a production environment, on that section where it asks for the thumbprint for the certificate you wanted to use, if you were to provide the thumbprint of a certificate that's generated from your internal CA or even a public CA, if you provide that in there, then other workstations and desktops in your environment would be able to verify and trust that certificate, then you wouldn't get this error. But in my case, I didn't do that. But to get around that, for this purpose of this demo, I can just go ahead and hit details and pretty much just say, hey, I understand the risks, and go ahead on to the web page. All right, and here we are. So it looks like you definitely can install Project Honolulu on a 1709 server, Windows Server 1709, or even a server core release. So it appears to be, I don't want to say exactly supported, but it definitely appears to work. So it's probably supported, but I haven't seen any documentation saying one way or another, but it appears to work. So during the install, remember I was saying that I wasn't sure about the certificate or how to get in on the server core. But now that we actually have this server, this Project Honolulu, let me just go and show you, like, say, how to get it since we're already in here. So I'm going to go ahead and go to W1709, go ahead and connect up to this server. So I can see various different information about the server, what processor it has, how much memory it has, near real-time streaming of CPU and memory and network throughput metrics. And I also could turn on disk metrics as well if that was something I was interested in. But we're going to go ahead and jump over to certificates. And I'm going to go ahead and jump over to local machine certificates. And I'm going to go to the My section. Is this the right one? No, I think this is probably the self-sign one that we use. So let me see. Desktop. I think the server should have one that's been issued by my internal CA. Not sure which one it may be. So maybe that one. No, that is the internal CA. Maybe this one. Possibly. Yeah, I'm not sure which is which. But anyway, let's assume that this was the internal CA or the certificate that I wanted to use during install. Say I've already had a Project Honolulu up and I wanted to go and get that thumbprint. This is a good way how I can go and get that and see what that is, and then I can provide that into Project Honolulu at setup time. So I actually have another 1709 server deployed within my environment, so that actually may be a good test to do. So let's go ahead and go back home. So now that we're in here, what we can do now is I can show you how using Project Honolulu, how you can go and look at the thumbprint, certificate thumbprints assigned to a server. So in this case, I actually have another 1709 server deployed in my environment. So I'm going to actually just go ahead and add it to this deployment temporarily. So W170902. Go ahead and provide some credentials so I can authenticate with it. That should be right. Alright. Maybe it wasn't. Let's try that one more time. Okay, there we go. Alright, so now that I'm connected, to my other 1709 server, and what we're going to do, we're actually going to go and get the thumbprint for that server, and then we're going to log into that server, use that thumbprint for the certificate, and then log into that newly deployed 1709 server. Or Project Honolulu 1711 server. It gets confusing, a lot of model version numbers. But let's go ahead and go into certificates. In the case for this server, I'm going to go ahead and jump over to local machine. And under local machine, I'm actually going to be looking for the certificate that's has the server name but is signed by internal CA. So how I can tell that, I see I have two certificates here that has the server name. So I'm going to go ahead and click on one of them. And what I'm going to be looking for is, as far as the issuer name, this column here, I want to make sure the one that I'm selecting is actually, the issuer is one of your internal CAs, or in my case, one of my internal CAs, and not the actual server itself, so not a self-signed certificate. Then the next part, what I want to do, I'm going to go and find that thumbprint that we remember seeing. So down here at the bottom, we have a thumbprint for that particular certificate that's installed on the system. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy that. All right. So once I have that copied, what I can do, I can go ahead and go and connect back to the server. So if I click on this remote desktop section here, that should go out and try to get me connected up via RDP to that server. I'll go ahead and accept that certificate. So you see, this is the remote desktop certificate that this is connecting via, since that's what's configured on that system currently. So I'm going to go ahead and say connect. And by the way, this is actually a new feature in this release of 1709. Of this release of Project Honolulu. Previously, if you wanted to connect to RDP, you would click the RDP button, and then you will get a download of a file to connect via RDP. In this case, is actually they brought that experience in line within the browser. So this is actually brand new for this release. All right, so now I'm back over here on my 1709 server that does not have Project Honolulu installed. So I'm going to just go ahead and go back to my root, run the installer. And as far as this RDP experience there, it's still a work in progress, so not everything works. I believe some things like Control-Alt-N and a few other like hotkey things that currently is not implemented. It doesn't work as you would expect. So there's some things to keep in mind. There's a complete release notes that kind of outline some of those limitations and things like that. But hopefully they'll be able to iron those things out in the next release. So I'm going to go ahead and say next here. So that brings us back to this 443 screen with the certificate. So this time I'm going to go using as a certificate install on this computer. And that's one of the things that don't work. I don't believe copy and paste works from this context. So what I'll do, I'll paste it up there and try to type it. This probably may make some mistakes here, but 726E40295E6516F47A DAC5AC7C24. Hopefully I typed that right, but let's go ahead and say install. Didn't complain, so hopefully we should be good. So we're going to go ahead and install that and give that a few minutes to get installed. So the last time we installed it, it took maybe about 4 minutes, 4 to 5 minutes to get installed. So it's a really pretty lightweight installation. Doesn't take a whole lot of time. Doesn't take up a whole lot of space, which are both positive and good things. So while that's going, just wait for that to finish here. Shouldn't be maybe another minute here, a couple more seconds, we should be done. All right, so that just completed. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and connect to that other server. So again, I'm going to HTTPS W1709 to. So this time I'm connecting to the server we just installed. So this time I didn't get a prompt as far as the server is unsafe or anything like that. Didn't get that message this time. All right, and now I got the welcome screen to connect to this Project Honolulu server. So I'm getting the welcome experience since this is again a brand new install, and it's the first time I'm logging into this server since we deployed it. And go ahead and say next. You kind of see a few things saying, hey, we want your feedback. To provide additional feedback on features you would like to see, things that don't work quite as you expect. Definitely provide that feedback so the product group can make the appropriate adjustments. So and hit finish. So there we have it. Now we have another Project Honolulu running. This time is running with a certificate that my workstation trusts. Right. So when I click that, I can see that my server, my workstation it can identify this as a trusted CA that issues the certificate, so it also trusts the system now. So very cool. So other things I wanted to show you here, if I hit add, there's a couple new things here. So one of the new things is we also can now monitor, or not monitor, but manage Windows PC systems as well. So I'm going to go ahead and say add Windows PC connection there. And I'm going to go ahead and type in HV7, which is one of my workstations. Submit. And so I see now I have Windows PC that's been added to the console, and it's asking for my credentials for that. So I'm going to go ahead and type that one more time. And as you're connecting to these various different systems and things like that, your credentials are only stored for the session. So if you like log out or close your browser or reopen it, you're going to get prompted for these credentials again. But one thing you can do is say if you're using the same credentials across a lot of the servers or desktops or whatever you're managing with Project Honolulu, you can check this box here, and it'll use those credentials you provide here across all those servers or desktops. So we'll go ahead and check that box and say continue. And that's going to go ahead and connect me up to this, which is now actually a desktop running Windows 10 Professional. So get the very similar experience that I get on the server side, except there's not as quite as many features and things like that. So we don't have like add and remove roles and things like that here. But you can kind of peer into see the overview of how that workstation is performing, what's consuming the resources, what network throughput is, what those type of things. Take a look at the certificate, devices, event viewer, configure things with the firewall, connect the remote desktop, those type of things. You still have all those full functionality. So this is the new and improved Project Honolulu. It's still in technical preview. Things are still being added and modified as times go on. Additional extensions and various other things will probably be added as well as time go on. But yeah, this is a kind of a welcome change. So I know there's a request that I saw where saying, hey, it would be neat if we can look at some workstations through this or do certain things through workstations via this tool as well. And it seems like that request has been fulfilled, at least in some respects. So yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to leave some comments down at the bottom, and I'll respond to them as soon as I can. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.